Goody Addams' mother. She is one of the most important but least explored figures in the Addams bloodline, appearing only briefly during Wednesday's vision in Season 1, Episode 3 of the Netflix series. Goody's mother, credited simply as Goody's mom, is shown as part of the outcast community that Joseph Crackstone condemned in 17th century Jericho. When Crackstone chained her and the others inside a wooden meeting house, she realized the only way to preserve the family line was to ensure her daughter's survival. As the flames began to spread, she ordered young Goody to escape, sacrificing herself so that her child could live on to fight. The scene reveals that this ancestor's death wasn't random tragedy. It was the defining act that allowed Goody Addams to grow into the witch who later battled Crackstone and whose spirit would centuries later mentor Wednesday. Her sacrifice also explains why the Addams women inherit psychic gifts, particularly the raven visions that Wednesday struggles to control. Although unnamed, she is the matriarchal figure who gave the Addams line in America both continuity and purpose. Without her defiance in that burning house, the story of Goody and ultimately of Wednesday herself would never have unfolded. Aunt Ophelia Frump. Morticia's sister stands out as one of the most fascinating and mysterious relatives tied to the Addams legacy. In classic Addams canon from the 1960s television series, Ophelia was portrayed as Morticia's cheerful and eccentric sibling, often with daisies in her hair and a sunnier personality that contrasted Morticia's gothic elegance. She was originally introduced as a comedic foil, even briefly considered as a suitor for Gomez before fate steered him toward Morticia. However, the Netflix series reshapes her into something far darker. In Season 2, Uncle Fester casually reveals to Wednesday that Morticia once asked him to check on her sister, who had been institutionalized at the Willow Hill Asylum. Flashbacks describe how Ophelia, during her time at Nevermore Academy, pushed her psychic visions too far. The result was catastrophic. She suffered a breakdown, screaming with black tears streaming down her face, and was quickly committed by her own mother, Hester Frump. By the time Fester visited, Ophelia had vanished without explanation. This reimagining makes her a mirror image of Wednesday's own struggle with raven visions. Her fate now hangs as a cautionary tale, and Season 3 may finally reveal whether she reappears as mentor, rival, or twisted villain. Gomez Addams' father, Grandpa Addams. Though never shown alive in the Netflix series, Gomez's father is a shadowy figure whose presence lingers in family lore across multiple versions of the Addams universe. In the 1991 film, his grave and statue appear in the family cemetery, with the headstone humorously inscribed DUI DOA, implying a drunken accident led to his demise. Morticia also mentions him fondly as one of the departed mother and father Addams, while walking among the tombs, establishing him as a respected patriarch even in death. Later, Addams Family Values adds another macabre joke when baby Pubert is said to have his grandfather's eyes, only for Morticia to quip, "Take those out of his mouth." In the Netflix timeline, his existence is hinted at when Uncle Fester recalls being abandoned as a child at an asylum disguised as summer camp by his parents, which suggests both Gomez's father and mother were alive and eccentric during their son's youth. Although he has no direct role on screen, this character embodies the older Addams ethos: unpredictable, darkly humorous, and deeply tied to family traditions. Season 3 could easily use him in flashbacks, ghostly visions, or even as the source of a hidden heirloom or unresolved family feud. Grandpa Frump, Morticia's father. Morticia's side of the family is less frequently explored, and her father remains one of the most overlooked figures in Addams lore. Known simply as Grandpa Frump, he was the husband of Hester Frump and father to Morticia and her sister Ophelia. In the 1960s series Backstory, he is briefly referenced when Fester recalls shooting an arrow to help his brother Frump win Hester's heart. Beyond that, details about him are sparse, and his absence is often explained by the implication that Hester raised the girls largely on her own. In the 2019 animated film, he makes a rare appearance through a seance, where Morticia contacts both of her deceased parents for advice. Depicted as kindly but absent-minded, he doesn't even recall the year he died until Granny corrects him, giving a humorous glimpse into his doddering personality. In Netflix's Wednesday, he is not shown directly, but subtle hints emerge. A former teacher of Morticia's describes her father as a huckster, suggesting he was a struggling salesman who left the Frumps with a poor reputation. This opens room for potential storylines. Season 3 could explore whether Morticia inherited more than just gothic elegance from him, perhaps uncovering a hidden gift, curse, or secret past. Granny Hester Frump, Grandmama. As Morticia's mother and Wednesday's grandmother, Hester Frump, often referred to as Grandmama, plays a critical role in holding together the maternal side of the family. In earlier versions of Addams' lore, she was portrayed as a classic witchy elder, complete with unruly gray hair, shawls, and a taste for brewing potions. In the 1960s series, she appears as Hester, while in later adaptations she is merged into the broader grandmama role. By the 1990s films, she became a staple background character, busy with spells, kitchen concoctions, or quirky commentary. Netflix's Wednesday gives her even more weight. Introduced in Season 2, she arrives in Jericho to support Wednesday's investigation, showing both shrewdness and a willingness to bend rules, at one point outright buying a cemetery to aid her granddaughter's search for evidence. Her dynamic with Morticia is complex. She once committed Ophelia to the asylum when her visions broke her mind, and she later clashes with Morticia over whether to entrust Wednesday with Goody Addams' spellbook. Hester's presence establishes her as a matriarch who prioritizes pragmatism and survival, even when her decisions cause family rifts. Going forward, she could mentor Wednesday in Frump family magic, or serve as a wildcard ally in future battles. Great-Aunt Calpurnia Addams. This ancestor is one of the most notorious figures in the Addams family tree, remembered for her fate during the Salem witch trials. She is described in the 1991 Addams Family film When Morticia Shows Her Children a Family Album. The entry proudly proclaims that Calpurnia was burned as a witch in 1706, after accusations that she danced naked in the town square and enslaved a minister. Rather than shun her memory, the Addamses celebrate her defiance, treating her execution as a badge of honor. Though she never appears in person, the details establish Calpurnia as a powerful witch whose legacy still resonates centuries later. The Netflix series has not yet mentioned her, but her story dovetails perfectly with its themes of persecution and resilience. Crackstone's crusade against outcasts in Jericho mirrors the historical witch hunts that claimed Calpurnia's life, making her an ideal figure to connect Wednesday's present struggles with ancestral history. If Season 3 explores more of the Addams' supernatural heritage, Calpurnia could surface through her grimoire, an artifact, or even as a ghostly presence guiding or tempting Wednesday. She embodies the darker heritage of the family, proving that embracing one's power has always been both dangerous and essential to the Addams legacy. Poncho Addams, Gomez's forgotten brother. Pancho is one of the strangest and most overlooked relatives in Addams history, remembered mainly from the 1977 television special Halloween with the new Addams Family. In that story, he is introduced as Gomez's younger brother, staying with the family during Halloween festivities. Pancho entertains the children with eerie bedtime tales about distant relatives like Cousin Shy, cementing his place as part of the wider Addams network. His most notable trait, however, is his awkward past infatuation with Morticia, which created comic tension when Gomez became jealous. Played by John Astin in a dual role alongside his portrayal of Gomez, Pancho resembled his brother closely but was framed as a foil, less magnetic, slightly bumbling, and desperate to prove himself. After the 1977 special, Pancho essentially vanished from canon, never appearing in later films or the Netflix series. His existence is rarely acknowledged, making him a lost uncle that many fans forget even exists. If Wednesday chose to revive him, Pancho could serve as comic relief or an unexpected wildcard, either visiting Nevermore or showing up at the Addams mansion. His return would expand Gomez's backstory while delighting longtime fans who remember this quirky, one-time addition to the family. Uncle Cosimo Addams. Among the many eccentric branches of the Addams family tree, Uncle Cosimo stands out for his notorious reputation despite appearing only in Charles Addams' original cartoons. Unlike more familiar figures, Cosimo was never brought into the mainstream TV or film adaptations, but his legend is preserved in family lore. He is remembered primarily for a single epitaph: "He left the world a little worse for having lived in it." For the Addamses, that line is not an insult, but a badge of honor, a sign that Cosimo's life of mischief, chaos, or cruelty was celebrated rather than condemned. In some family tree versions, he is listed as one of Gomez's brothers, while in others he is framed as a distant great-uncle. Although Netflix's Wednesday has not mentioned him, the show frequently sprinkles in portraits, statues, and references to obscure ancestors, making Cosimo a perfect candidate for a subtle Easter egg. Imagine Wednesday uncovering a cursed relic or diary that once belonged to him, with clues about his sinister adventures. His inclusion would add depth to the Addams heritage, reminding viewers that the family line includes not just witches and psychics, but also rogues who relished leaving behind a darker legacy. Pubert Addams. A unique addition to the Addams clan, Pubert first appeared in the 1993 film Addams Family Values. Born to Morticia and Gomez, he is instantly recognizable with his small pencil-thin mustache, pale skin, and dark hair, essentially a baby version of Gomez. While only an infant, Pubert becomes central to the plot, as Debbie Jelinski, the gold-digging nanny, attempts to kill him in increasingly elaborate ways. True to Addams' tradition, Pubert narrowly escapes every attempt, from guillotines to explosives, usually through sheer luck or eerie resilience. In the film, his brief transformation into a blonde, rosy-cheeked baby symbolizes a temporary family crisis, as his normal appearance horrifies the Addamses until he reverts to his macabre self. After that movie, Pubert disappeared from continuity, never appearing in later adaptations, including Netflix's Wednesday. His omission leaves a tantalizing gap. Was he forgotten, retconned, or still hidden somewhere in the family mansion? Season 3 could choose to revive Pubert either as a throwback Easter egg or a reimagined younger sibling. Even if not central to the story, his presence would highlight how the Addams family continues to grow and evolve while reminding fans of one of the franchise's most bizarre and humorous deep cuts.